What's up, folks? After some brief technical difficulties, we are back once again for Food Chart Fridays live at high noon. Here we share our experience. I share my experience working the 1-2-3 balanced approach to fitness, specifically towards the number one, the common sense approach to nutrition, what I see live with clients on the ground, and how I can use that experience to help you here on Facebook. I invite your questions. I invite comments. I'm willing to look at your food here live and help you move forward in a direction that gets you well. And that's what this thing is all about. I want to say first off, I am not a nutritionist. I have been very fortunate to get to grow up with a mother who had a fitness television show and do this for basically my entire life. And for the past 17 years, I have worked with individuals in small groups, large groups, one-on-one to help steer the ship to get them to their goals of true wellness, which is what I teach. And today's topic, we're going to talk about fad diets versus lifestyle and how you can cherry pick what's best to create a system that works for you. But what we do every week is we look at some client data on the ground, showing you what works for people and what doesn't before we talk about that topic. So we're going to start off with something I was very passionate about last week, and that are these two charts right here. These are two kids that I started training last week. I've been training one of them for about a month. It was one of the worst food charts I ever seen. And then last week I started training his sister as well. I had a conversation with their mother about their food charts and the fact that she's ultimately the one that's responsible for what they're putting in their mouth, and it's her lifestyle that teaches them their lifestyle. And that a lot of times if everybody's not on the same page, it's not going to work. So let's stop making some freaking excuses and get it done. And I'll tell you what, they have gotten it done. Now she locked their asses down a little bit with what she chose for them. And it transferred over to her too, because she's eating the same thing, which is good. And she pretty much got to the no excuses. If you don't eat it, there ain't nothing else to eat situation that I encourage, because once you get hungry, you're going to eat what's available. And it got them on a train to healthy. Now, with kids, building those habits is something that's long term. And here's the truth. Our bodies will learn how to digest foods easier the more we eat that food. So we're going to build enzymes that help us break down certain foods the more we eat them. So in the beginning, whereas you don't like broccoli, you don't like green beans and the taste of those foods, it's because you haven't practiced eating those foods. As you begin to eat those foods more, your taste buds will be more accustomed to those foods, and your body will build specific enzymes and things to help break those things down more efficiently, right? Now, later on in your diet, that's why it's important to mix and match, all right? Because we want your body to keep guessing. But in the beginning, we have to build a foundation by choosing foods that you're willing to try to start to build that foundation of your diet. And that's what we have done with these two kids right here whose food charts were much better. And I just want to tell you, last week, the son, he had bacon, peanut butter, bacon, cereal, and cereal for breakfast last week. All right, this week, he had 3 eggs with blueberry smoothie, 3 eggs with a smoothie, 1 piece of whole wheat toast, 2 eggs with some turkey sausage, a piece of whole wheat toast, and a blueberry smoothie. It's just night and day. And part of that was the stuff being prepared and ready, right? Now, ultimately, empowerment for this young man is going to be him learning how to do that stuff for himself. Mama shouldn't be cooking all that. He's freaking 17. He needs to be able to handle putting together those food choices for himself. But hopefully what we'll get is the law of accumulation in effect. We are what we consistently do. And if I sit on a couch potato and just eat potatoes, I turn into a couch potato. But if I'm putting in these healthy, nutritious foods, if I'm waking up with strawberries every day in my mouth, I'm going to turn into a healthy, live, vibrant being. And that's what we'll see over time if you're consistent with this approach, and it truly builds a lifestyle. The daughter as well, an example of her lunches: 3 ounces of chicken with the potato and broccoli, chicken peppers, black bean salad, 5 ounce chicken with a little bit of sweet potato, and turkey with a whole wheat toast and a little bit of lettuce. So we've got some variety there. We have some consistency with protein at every single meal. I'm just very proud of these charts. Next, we're going to talk about Big Dave, who we've been speaking about for quite some time. As you can see, his yellow marks are down once again this week. He's back on healthy snacks, which is great. He had ice cream a couple of times, only 2 times this week, right? And Dave is a cancer survivor, someone who's been battling with getting not only back to feeling healthy and alive, but he's also been working on, letting go of some of the excuses, some of the things that fear that was driving his bad choices, and really stepping up to the plate and putting in healthy foods to get overall wellness and healthy results. And each week I've seen him consistently get better. And that's what I teach. don't go all in week one, because it does not create a lifestyle. What you have to do is incrementally make change until you find that balance point with what you can live with. And that balance point will come on the scale as well, right? So we make the adjustments weekly, we see the results, and then we're willing to make extra adjustments. Instead of just creating rules and rigidity and here's exactly what you're going to do right off the bat in week one, this way we incrementally build that lifestyle. And Dave has bought in. He has been getting better each week, and I can't wait to do his assessment next week. We'll come back with some weight loss information. From there, we're going to look at our intern sheets. We talked about Brittany last week. Brittany didn't bring her food chart today, so I harassed her, and she quickly wrote it down. She goes, well, I didn't want to bring it because it wasn't that good. And I'm like, that's exactly why you're supposed to bring it. We're doing this live footage. We need to see the truth, and this is the truth. A lot of people don't write shit down because self-awareness can be hard. It can be hard to take a look at what you're really doing. And that is not just on our food charts, that's in life. That's why journaling, that's why having somebody you're accountable to is incredibly important, because it can help you steer yourself away from those bad habits and that cyclical pattern and get you into some real change. So in reality, once she wrote it down here, it's not as bad as she said. She's working on getting protein at each meal. She had a potato chips and guacamole, or chips and guacamole for a snack one day with no protein. But in general, most of her meals have got protein with them. It looks like her dinners are a little nastier than her breakfast. But we said you got to figure out who you are. If you're a dinner person, then you can schedule your carbs and things later in the day. She's got chicken. She's got steak. Now, she's told me she loves chicken wings, and they are on here one time, and she had some fried fish on another day. But her other meals look pretty good. So in general, we beat the crap out of ourselves when we look at reality. Sometimes we find our feelings aren't necessarily the truth with what we've actually been doing. And by getting the awareness and looking at it, we can help balance that out as well. Because if we're used to beating ourselves up, we'll hit that pattern even when we're doing things right. So by writing it down, taking the action step, she got an opportunity to see it's really not as bad as I thought, and here's the little adjustment I can make. And so the adjustment we need to make is finding a consistent snack, or maybe losing one night of bad foods. Because she's really got 5 days written down here, and I bet there was something else that's coming up this weekend she needs to watch out for. So I'm proud of her. Even though she didn't bring it at first, she said, well, I'll just write it down right now. And boom, we got an opportunity to move forward. Good job. We have one other food chart I wanted to look at, and this was a lady, Diane, who's come a long way. And she's noticed in the last couple of weeks a little bit of a backslide. And here's the truth, she's been through a lot of stuff in the last couple of weeks, and I tell people you cannot look for one number on the scale to be your number. I'm going to weigh 132 pounds no matter what, or 165 pounds, or for me, 185 pounds, right? Like, I used to have this silly little Jean-Claude Van Damme goal. When I first started working out, I wanted to be Jean-Claude Van Damme in kickboxer, 185 pounds. And when I got there, I hit that 185, I wanted to be 215, and then I wanted to be 235. But what I've realized, number one, is if you go to the bathroom one time, you go take a number 2, you're going to lose 2 or 3 pounds, right? If you drink a big 16-ounce bottle of water, you're going to gain a pound. So you need to give yourself a window. And what I suggest for women is an 8-pound window. All right, you want to stay within this 8 pounds, and your ideal weight needs to be somewhere near the middle-ish lower portion of that, right? And then you find your happy zone. Because body fat and weight loss come with the zone of miserable. If you really want to be super low, then you got to take the miserable that comes with it of limiting your food choices and being incredibly consistent and stringent with what you eat for that beach trip. But then you get the reward of that super low body fat percentage. But really where you live, where your lifestyle number should be right around those healthy parameters, 20 to 23%. And you got to take that grain of salt when you've had a stressful time and you've been traveling a lot and you finally get a chance to come home and relax. Boom. Sometimes these numbers may go up and you may fall off just a little bit. But writing it down, which is the beautiful thing that Diane has done anyway, gives her a chance to say what she said to me today. I got to look for where the pattern is, and then I got to be willing to do something different and tweak something that gives me a little bit of a turn on what I'm doing. So what I suggested to her was what I'm going to talk about a little bit later, and that was cherry picking some awesome things from some of the fad diet BS that's out there, because there's some great stuff in some of that information that you can apply to a real lifestyle. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to talk about is I finished the boot camp with a big group at High Point University this week. And those groups usually start out with about 50 people, and then it whittles down to about half of that, maybe about 20 people by the end. Because at 6 a.m., they're college kids, they got it for free, and then you figure out who really wants it in the end. And the ones who stay are kids that get a real gift. They learn a lifestyle. They learn how to do this one rep, one moment at a time. And they really build some skills they can carry with them, right? It's not a quick fix. I tell them that day one. And we lose people, right? And that's pretty much boot camps across the board because not everybody's willing to change. And hey, maybe some people find the answer a different way. But we consistently do. And when you show up consistently for those 5 or 6 weeks, you get good results. And here's what I want to speak to. The average weight loss in that camp was right around 5 pounds because 1 pound a week is considered healthy weight loss. Now, we had a girl lose over 10 pounds in that camp. We had another lose 9. We had another lose 7.5. We had a few girls that lost more than 5. We had a couple of girls that lost less, right? But the truth is 1 pound a week is healthy weight loss. And we got 2 weeks into that 5-week camp. And I had people that were still missing several misses in the beginning in their food charts. They still weren't on board completely. They hadn't surrendered. And they were one little step at a time tightening things up. But by the end of the camp, they had gotten consistent weight loss, the ball really rolling. If your metabolism has done this for quite some time, or if you do this on your food charts, it may take a couple of weeks for things to really level out. And remember, weight loss is not linear, right? Body fat percentage loss is. So what was also really cool is pretty much everybody in that camp's body fat percentage came down exactly the way it was supposed to as well. 0.2, we had one girl lose 2.7% body fat, which is real high. 0.5 is considered healthy, is considered advanced body fat loss for a week. 2.5 is considered basic. So they all averaged right around that 1.5, but most of the girls actually lost about 2%, which is really awesome. But it speaks to this. When I teach a new person how to eat and how to really affect their lifestyle with the number 1 and the 1, 2, 3, I teach them the common sense approach to nutrition. I don't teach them, and we're going to segue over right now into our topic of the day, fad diets versus building a lifestyle, and how you can cherry pick what works. You know, I like teaching a lifestyle that is not any of these extreme diets that you'll see that help you lose 20, 30 pounds. One of the girls at the end of that camp yesterday asked me a question. She said, "You remind me of Jillian Michaels," right? And then like 3 of the other kids there were like, I would take that as an insult. And I didn't really comment. I just kind of took it and I was like, eh. And so then when I got a second to breathe, I said, "Look, do you want me to respond and tell you what I think of that answer?" And here was my answer. Sensationalist bullshit is what the fitness industry is based on. I've never met Jillian Michaels. I have no idea what she's really like. But I've seen her yelling at people over them, and I see these people losing a ton of weights on shows like that in a short amount of time. And the reality is most people that get on a fad diet or a reality television show gain all the weight back because they do not build a lifestyle. They build and they beat the shit out of themselves like they've already been doing in their head with this instant gratification crap anyway on the opposite side of the coin. They may lose 10 pounds in a week. Generally, if somebody loses that much weight in 1 week, one of two things is happening. They were either banging out 4 counts of Reese peanut butter cups and sodas all day long, and they immediately quit doing that, and they cut their caloric total drastically, or they're doing like 3 to 6 hours of cardio, a workout per day. And then you combine those two things, and you'll have some super drastic, creepy weight loss that equals you affecting your immune system, you affecting your hormones, you losing muscle, not being healthy, and an instant gratification system that once that stops, boom, you fall back into the pattern of eating that crap again, right? Because it becomes, you didn't address your feelings by one moment at a time trying to change consistently. You jumped right into the damn pool, and in the end, you're going to get wet. I don't know if that makes sense, but somebody told me if you hang around the barber shop, eventually you're going to get a damn haircut. With that being said, a lifestyle is built by creating consistency. There is more than one way to skin a cat, right? And when it comes to diets or building our lifestyle, it's really about figuring out what you can consistently execute. You know, I think it's funny when people ask me about, well, what do you think about the 4-hour diet? What do you think about the keto diet? Well, the keto diet is a reinvention of the Atkins diet, right? Mr. Atkins died overweight of heart disease, right? The guy who started that damn thing died fat of a fucking heart attack, right? The 4-hour diet, well, that just means eat every 4 hours, not every 3 hours, which is just like pretty much the diet we teach, right? What about intermittent fasting? I think intermittent fasting works if you work it consistently. What I found for me was that it was not a long-term solution because once my ass got hungry, I started eating a bunch of crap, and then I didn't end up sticking to it for the long run. What about juice fasting? Juice fasting, you get tons of nutrients, but you're not getting in enough calories unless you fucking juice like crazy all day long. That's me pushing the vegetables down the machine, because I used to juice fast. Plus, you throw away a lot of pulp if you do the no pulp. You're throwing away a lot of stuff and putting it in the compost pile, hopefully. I just found it wasn't executable for the long run. But each of those diets has really good things about them. And if I can find a system that I can consistently execute over time, I can take the good parts of those other things and plug them in and make a system that works for me. So what I have found to be very consistent and work for me is to try to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner and get small protein-based snacks in between. That way, the common sense of that is do what your grandma told you. Eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then put small snacks in between so I don't end up being ravenously hungry by the next meal. And I'm keeping my metabolism running all day long by balancing my metabolism by choosing protein first every single time. The building block of muscle, and muscle burns lots of calories a day. I like to apply that science, put some common sense with it. Every pound of body weight you have, this muscle's burning like 50, 60 calories a day with you sitting in a chair. Protein is the building block of that muscle. If I keep putting protein in, I'm going to maintain my muscle, I'm going to maintain my metabolism. And then I choose wisely with the protein based on my goal. So for me, I want to maintain the range of my current weight. So I try to choose at least 2 carbohydrates a day, right? From there, I include healthy fruits and vegetables with every meal, and I get at least 2 healthy fats a day. These are all suggestions that I've taken from figuring out what worked with clients, what worked with myself, what the FDA recommends, and then spreading them across a day in a way that I can have consistency. I found that it works every single time for me and for clients when I follow directions. And what I've done now, by creating that consistency, by teaching people, here's the idea of what a lifestyle would look like. And what's neat is you can look up, 5 or 6 people that you consider to be role models, right? Body-wise, and type in their name and type in their diet, and boom, it's going to generally come up with something very similar to what I just told you, right? Lots of fruits and vegetables, protein consistently out the day, and using healthy fats. Common sense says it's not going to include Little Debbie's and shit like that, right? But with that being said, from there, what can I cherry pick from other diets? Let me tell you something I like about the keto diet. I like the recipes. Dude, if you type in keto diet meal plan into Google, you will come back with some incredibly beautiful looking stuff on a plate that's made from like cauliflower, artichoke hearts, and avocado cooked in coconut oil and chicken. I mean, the food looks awesome and tastes awesome. And I've had several people pull meals from that to plug into the system that I just told you as one of their low, technically we do 2 carbs a day, so one of those non-carb meals can be something pulled from the keto diet. What do I like about juice fasting? I love the nutrient density of a juice. I mean, I'm pulling out vitamins and minerals like crazy from those juices. So I will include a juice once a day, when I have the opportunity to, when I'm around the machine, or I'll go grab one from Earth Fare, plug for them, but they make juices. You can get them at several other stores as well. But I love the nutrient density. What do I like about intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting taught me how to cardio in a fasted state. So when I want to lose weight, on cardio days, I'll do 1 carb a day. And when I want to strength train and I want to build those muscles, I may add an extra carb. So I pulled that piece from intermittent fasting. So what I'm trying to say is, to wrap this up, is in life I've had to learn to take things with a grain of salt and find out what works for me. And that's what I encourage my clients to do. I say, here is a system that I've seen work consistently with people over time. And if you will get consistent with plugging in and writing down the truth, it'll give you the awareness of what you need to work on to make better choices. And then we look at those numbers consistently each month with a body fat test, with your body weight, and we make sure we're going in the right direction, and we tweak it as we go. And the lifestyle really becomes accountability to yourself. Taking care of yourself, 1 meal, 1 rep at a time, and being willing to look at the results you're getting as you go and make a change. And then you can use those neat tools from those other pieces to plug in different spots and get even better results. I am more than happy to teach people little diet hacks. Like for years we've done this 2 eggs for breakfast drink. Only 2 boiled eggs. You'll guarantee to lose 2 pounds this week, right? It's a silly little hack. That thing I was talking about a second ago, the lower carbs on your cardiovascular days. But if you start doing those things before you've built a foundation of consistency, you're running yourself into a wall, because it's that same search for instant gratification that you're doing when you're eating crappy foods, when you're drinking, or when you're skipping meals, thinking that's going to be what gets you to the promised land. Because the truth is, here it comes. We're already in the promised land. Right now, you're exactly where you're supposed to be when you're breathing and doing your best, one rep, one moment at a time, to care for yourself well. When you do that, you get to teach that to other people. You know, it's really a beautiful gift. And it ain't easy with all the crap that gets thrown at us from the media, from our parents, and from the value systems that we learn in all these other places. And so it's why slowing down, it's why the beauty of a food chart, the fact that every 3 hours it's kind of like a mini inventory, as I've discussed before. You get a chance to say, am I willing to care for myself? Am I willing to care for myself? And then that begins to permeate your life and accumulate over time. Boom. And next thing you know, you're living your values. And right this exact moment, you're already living your dream and getting where you're supposed to be. We just brought it right here on Food Chart Fridays Live. But that's been my experience. And a lot of times I have to slow down and remember that, because it'll get going again. But it always comes back to right now, to the present. And getting it done one rep, one meal, one moment at a time. So, closing it up, Food Chart Fridays. Showing you some real experience. I would love to see some food charts from you out there. You can email me anytime, blazethm@gmail.com. I'll be happy to look them over, talk about what I see here live. And as always, boom, it's Friday. Much love, and be well.